From ordinary Muslims to Islamic leaders, condemnation and outrage over the attacks. But that's doing little to ease fears of a backlash against Muslims, not just in France, but the rest of Europe. CCTV's Jack Parrock joins us live from Paris with those details. And Jack, can you give us a sense of the mood in Paris right now?
So we are seeing a lot of tributes being paid across the city. Just behind me at the Charlie Hebdo headquarters, where the attack took place, there are candles and flowers being laid. But also there was another demonstration at Place de la République, just down the road, of people turning out on the streets to show their support and to savour the memory of the victims of this attack. The city is still visibly on high alert. There are armed security forces all over. Clearly the main security operation is now headed to the north of France, where the two men are suspected to be hiding, and it's unlikely that this atmosphere will really settle until they're caught. Now, it's sparking fears that there might be a rise in an anti-Islamist sentiment in France.
Aujourd'hui, c'est la République tout entière qui a été.
When French President François Hollande called for solidarity in the fight against terrorism, tens of thousands were already expressing it on the streets of Paris. Barely a day has passed, and already there are concerns that it could fuel anti-Islamic sentiments at home.
It depends whether this kind of call for unity from Hollande, from Sarkozy, will win out over the kind of extremist reaction that we might see. There's a planned anti-Islam protest for January the 18th in Paris. We'll see how the turnout is there. Now, it may grow. It may actually kind of be watered down in terms of the reaction may go the other way.
Those concerns echoed elsewhere in Europe.
The European Union must remain united, not just internally, but also externally on this fundamental value. Fighting terrorism is a key challenge, not just in terms of politics and security, but it is also a cultural challenge, a cultural value.
At the crime scene, many gather to pay their respects, but the response from the far right in this largely socialist country seems much more uncertain.
It's very likely that the right wing will have some kind of a interest in keeping the fears very high, and it's just very difficult to see the kind of the stakes of the political debate right now.
We must absolutely not go towards the far right's movement. It is important to stay united in France, especially with the Muslims. It is with them that we can truly achieve solidarity.
Despite some reports of vigilante attacks on mosques, the country seems to have remained united. And the leader of the French Front National, the far-right party here that's seen huge success in recent months, will meet with the French President François Hollande. It's unclear whether this attack will translate into votes for her, but it does seem that it will certainly improve people's sympathies for her anti-immigration stance.
And Jack, has there been any signal at all of tensions flaring up there?
There have been reports in some parts of France that mosques have been targeted. There's unconfirmed reports of shots being fired at some, and perhaps a Muslim kebab shop as well. But these seem to be relatively minor incidents. And in which no one was injured. The French government is calling for unity and saying that the community here, not just in Paris but across the whole of France, must stick together. Also interestingly, we've seen the Je suis Charlie hashtag going over Twitter, and now there's been another one, Je suis Ahmed. That's to do with the policeman that was shot here outside the Dome, who was a police officer. And that's to show that the hashtag is showing support, that this didn't only affect this isn't an Islamist on French people. This is an Islamist attack on the whole of France, and that's what that hashtag is trying to show, and trying to show support for the victims, whoever they were.
All right, CCTV's Jack Parrock live for us in Paris.